please. Just put a chat in here before we start off. Excellent.
See you've gone.
Anyway, I'd like to take photographs as we go around, that's not a problem. Okay. Right, welcome to Elvaston Castle. Thanks for turning out on this rather cold morning. My name's Vaughn, and I shall be your castle tour guide for today. Okay? I'm assisted by Mark at the back there, who's going to video it all on his camera. The tour around the castle takes about an hour, which sounds quite a long time, but believe you me, there's a lot to see. Has anybody been here before? Yeah, 1 or 2 people? Okay, it's new for a lot of others. Okay. Well, the tour covers the principal rooms downstairs. We go off to the main bedroom, Lady Harrington's bedroom, Lord Harrington's bedroom, and then across to the servants' quarters. And also today, you can go down the cellars if you wish to at the end. Okay. The important thing to do is to retain your tickets that you was given to you on the door, because you can show them later on today and come in and see the photographs. We've got some photographs in the library that we'll talk about when we get into there. We've got 2 PowerPoint presentations running on the computers there with various pictures, the castle tours on one, William Barron's on the other. And then in the back room, which I'll point out to you when we get there, is Richard King's pictures, taken around about 1850, 1860 of Elvaston at its peak, okay, at its height. Right, first thing, little talk about fire safety, fire precautions. If we should hear the alarm, let's hope we don't, but if we do, the best policy is to follow directions from yourself or Mark, and we'll lead you out to the nearest fire exit. Okay? We follow the signs with the green running man, right? And the assembly point is in the East Avenue. That's the long tree-lined avenue that goes down to Warwick Road. Okay? Right, now we've done that then, let's get on with the tour. Well, we're here in the Gothic Hall, and this is the entrance hall to Elvaston Castle. It was designed by Lewis Cottingham in 1836 as a tribute from the 4th Earl to his great love Maria. And we'll be talking more about Maria as we get further onto the tour. But the title of the room is the Hall of the Fair Star. Okay? So although it's commonly called the Gothic Hall, it is the Hall of the Fair Star. And we have to use our imagination in here, as we do with many of the rooms at Elvaston, because all the furniture and all the pictures and paintings, etc. have all gone. Where did they go? Well, the 11th Earl of Harrington hasn't lived here since before the Second World War. And he's now living in Ireland. His estate's in Ireland, alive and well. But he took with him to Ireland what he wanted, and the rest was sold in auction. There was 2 auctions, one on November the 8th, 1963, which was held at Sotheby's in London, and that took the best pieces. Okay? The other one in March 1964 will have cleared out the rest of the castle. So we only have 1 piece of Harrington furniture in the entire house now. Okay? And I'll point that out to you when we get to it. So you see sideboards and harmoniums and things around the castle. It's got nothing to do with the Harringtons whatsoever. It came here through the museum service in the 70s. So we have to use our imagination. And to assist us in that, we've got some pictures around the rooms. This is one that's quite typical. This was taken in 1920 of the Gothic Hall where you are at the moment. Okay? Again, if you want to see these pictures afterwards, no problem, come back in and look at them at your leisure. You can see around the pillars, you've got these halberds, these black lancers around the flukes of the pillars. And those people that are next to the pillars, you can see where the points used to be in the plates at the bottom and the brackets at the top. We've got niches around the room that all contain suits of armour. And to give you some idea, there's 5 suits of armour in here. To give you some idea of how it looks, we've got some set up in the back niches there, not actually the suits of armour themselves unfortunately, but pictures of them. And those were that's the actual armour that was in the niches. When they did the inventory in 64, that armour was still there. It was a great find. It's 16th century armour. It had been lost, in inverted commas, for 150 years. The Earl brought it over, the third Earl of Barrington brought it over as spoils of war in the early 1800s, and it just stopped at Elvaston here. Nobody knew it existed, and you can imagine it's a tremendous find. The room itself, these windows that are plain glass now, were once stained glass with heraldic symbols and heraldic mottos, and you can sort of picture it on a nice sunny morning, with the sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows and reflected off all the mirrors and the armour. It was an incredible sight. The windows were taken out before the Second World War for safety reasons and stored in the stables. Unfortunately, after the war, when they come to put them back, the frames were found to have rotted and they couldn't put them in. There's only one piece of stained glass in the entire wall now. And those people near the back, if you just turn around, you can see it. It's over the entrance door there. You can just see it at the very, very apex of the door. Okay, looking back at the photograph then, you can see the niches with the armour. You can see this fantastic spread of lances across the fireplace there. A large pair of elks antlers here on the bracket. There's muskets and pistols. There's still the royal coat of arms, you can still see that. And the kids will perhaps notice that there's no two tails the same on the line. Okay, they're all slightly different. Royal coat of arms. The Harringtons can trace their pedigree back to Edward I, and it even goes further back, as we've just discovered, Andrew discovered on the internet the other day, that it goes right back now to 1066 and the Battle of Hastings. And the William de Colville came across with William the Conqueror from Normandy. So quite an extensive pedigree. Those people old enough to remember the Women in Love film, Ken Russell, and D.H. Lawrence and all that, 1969, people will remember, but a lot of it was filmed in Derbyshire, Heatherstone. Elvaston was quite a principal place, and it formed at the mine owner's residence, and it was called Shortlands. Okay? And it was where Oliver Reed's father lived in the film. And there was a scene in the film, a nude wrestling scene. If you've seen the film, I'm sure it stands out in the mind. A nude wrestling scene between Oliver Reed and Alan Bates. And that took place in front of this very fireplace. Okay? So if you've not seen it, next time it's on at Christmas, take a look at it. Don't look at the nude wrestling ladies, not interested in that. But just look at the heraldic symbols and that, say, yes, I recognise that, we saw that at the castle tour. What do we do with the room now? Well, it's given over to civil marriages. So you can get married here if you wish to, and it's a very, very popular venue as well. So I'm sure you can appreciate it. Okay, a lot to see, so if you'd like to follow me, this way please. This is one of the oldest parts of the castle, and it's what we call the 1633 end. Stone mullioned windows there behind you. And those people familiar with the castle will know that if you look at the castle from the gardens there, that this end of the building is still brick, yeah, still with a brick gable. And a lot of people ask the question, why? Why is that little bit left like that and the rest of the castle ashlar face sandstone? The answer to that is because all this east side of the castle, all the way along, was like that at one time, with the brick-built Georgian Jacobean style gables. But this side of it was replaced in around about 1850. Okay. If again, when you're looking at the front of the castle, above, not above this window, but above the floor above, there is a date stone that actually says 1633. Okay. And if you're doing the quiz, there's a plinth outside the window, a sandstone plinth that once contained a sundial. Okay. So that's for the quiz. Photographs around the wall, pictures, prints around the wall of the various Stanhopes. As I say, we don't have any pictures or paintings of the originals now. These are some that we've taken out of the archive, off the internet, etc. One picture I'd like to just draw your attention to is this one here, of Charles Augustus, the 8th Earl of Harrington. Okay, this recently came to us from Vaughns, the auction house in London. And Vaughns rang us and they said, we've got a painting in the auction of somebody called Charles Augustus, 8th Earl of Harrington. Can you tell us anything about him? And we sent quite a lot of information off to them, and they published it in their catalogue and kindly sent us a copy of the catalogue for the auction, and there's Charles on the front of it. And just to give you an idea of prices, if I can quickly find the page. Here somewhere. There it goes. 12 to 18,000 pounds. That was the estimate on the painting, and it actually went for 45,000. So you could do the garage full of those, couldn't you? But Charles Augustus, the 8th Earl, we'll talk about him a little bit later. But anything to do with horses was right up his street. He was ex-cavalryman and loved hunting and polo. He was one of the exponents of polo, bringing it over to this country from India, where it was called hockey on horses to start off with. It came to Hurlingham, and then Charles brought it to Elvaston. We used to hold national and international polo matches on the showground, or to give it its true title, the polo ground.
Oh, no, I don't know how much you want to go around.
Let's move on. Just taken early 1900s again. You can see this fine Sheraton furniture, George IV library globes, books obviously, oil paintings around the room and so on. It's quite splendid in its day, quite splendid. And this fabulous fireplace. Now all the rest are gone, but we still have the fireplace. So let's just talk about the fireplace for a minute or two. The fireplace wasn't sort of constructed at Elvaston, it came here from one of those large houses in London that the Harringtons owned. It was brought here because it reflected this chivalrous theme again from the Gothic Hall. The mottos gallantry and courtesy, and the thistles and stars and so on. The coats of arms, we've got the Harrington there, top left, quartered with other families that we're married into. We've got, working our way down, we've got a motto here. A lot of letters missing now, but once it said, an emperor's gift, the day I won my spurs. So again, the chivalrous theme. And we have a couple of initials, a C and an M. Okay, a C and an M. Now the C and the M is the key. It's the key to Elvaston, and it's the key to the gardens. It's what Elvaston is all about. And I'll explain to you. The C, for a start, is Charles. Now, Charles was the 4th Earl of Harrington, and he was 49 when he inherited Elvaston in 1829. And the M is for Maria. Okay? Maria. Now, Maria Foote, she was the indulged daughter of a Plymouth theatre manager, and she lacked any sort of real talent for the stage, but she swapped her fortunes from the stage to the bedchamber at a very early age of 17, and she had a string of associations. There was a Colonel Berkeley, later to become Lord Seagrave, she was his mistress for 5 years. He was very well connected in London, and she thought he was going to marry her. But after 5 years, he left her and went back to his wife. He left her with a townhouse in London. He left her with a wardrobe of a duchess and 2 children. Then along came a guy called P. Green Haynes, and he was called P. Green, it was a nickname, he used to dress in that colour. And she said that he promised to marry her as well. And he said, I can't remember saying the words. So she took him to court, breach of promise, and she won £3,000. And in the early 1800s, £3,000 was a nice little pickle. So Maria was okay. As I say, she was well connected, she got a townhouse, and she got a nice little bit of money in the bank. Along came Charles. Now when Charles saw her, he was absolutely besotted with her. 17 years her senior, but he was over the moon, and he was determined to win her back to Elvaston and marriage. Mentioned it to his father, the 3rd Earl, and the 3rd Earl said, she's coming to Elvaston over my dead body. Because, to say Covent Garden actress, slightly above prostitutes in those days. No way did he want her in the family. But Charles couldn't persuade him. He said no, he said, I'm determined, I'm going to whirl back to Elvaston. So he mentioned Elvaston to her, and she said, Elvaston? Elvaston? Patagonia is only slightly further remote than Elvaston. What do I want to go to Elvaston for? So he thought, oh, I've got to create something really special here to woo her back from her society friends in London. So he thought, I've got to create something at Elvaston that's going to draw them, that everybody wants to see, that they're all going to be talking about in polite circles. So he started off on this ruinous development of Elvaston Castle into this chivalrous and Gothic theme, and the gardens. He brought William Barron in from Edinburgh Botanical Gardens to create something out there that would outshine anything that had gone before. Something that everybody would want to see and everybody would be talking about. And that's what he did from 1830 to 1850. And was he successful? Of course he was. And he came back to Elvaston, our marriage, on the 7th of April 1831. And he was 51 and she was 34. And they're married in the little sunlit church next to the castle here, St Bartholomew's. And were they happy? Well, relatively speaking. The guidebooks tell you that they lived here in solitude for 20 years, which is not strictly true. She was here for about sort of 3 to 5 years, and then she sort of drifted back to London. The pull of society was just too great. So she came back. She did sort of come back to Elvaston, and to complete the story. She was actually buried here. In fact, the Charles is buried in the church, under the chancel of the church. There was children from the marriage. There was a girl and a boy. The boy, unfortunately, Lord Petersham, he died at the age of 4. And he's in the church as well, and so is Mariah. So they're all back together. And the C and the M are entwined for all eternity with a lover's knot. Okay? Give you some idea of how she looked. Mariah, at the age of 25, as Miss Darlington in one of her famous roles at Covent Garden. Great beauty. Let's move on. The billiard room at Elvaston. Again, not an awful lot. In fact, there's not an awful lot left original in here. The panelling, most of the panelling, all this panelling here, was replaced by the council in the early 70s when they took over. There's 2 bits of original, that's original, and that one is there between the windows as well. But again, we've got a photograph, so we can sort of picture it a little bit with the billiard table there. You can just about make out the cues standing in the rack in the stand in the far corner. That's it over there. Paintings around the wall and so on. There's still people that are alive in the village that can remember being invited here for a game of billiards by the Earl, which would be rather nice. The room now is given over to council meetings. So when we get the big wigs from Matlock down here, this is where they meet in this room here. Okay? We're going to move on now. We're going to go through that door. Straight facing you is another room, okay? And in there is one of these PowerPoint presentations, these computer projected presentations of Richard Keane's pictures taken around about 1850, 1860. It takes about half hour to see them all, but pop in there if you like after the tour and take a look at them. They're well worth a look. And there's a commentary as well with it. But what we're going to do, we're not going to go in there now, we're going to turn left out this door and carry on round on the tour. The paradise as well, yeah. Like peacocks, that's it. That's a musical instrument. That's finishing this here, there's arrows here, looking at the river, and a bow. Look here, look at fish here. Yeah, look at fish. It's too dark to see what's up there, there's some bats. Just drawing your attention to the door there, it's a beautiful hand-painted door, and it contains the title, of course. All the fair star. We got it all. And no prize for guessing who the fair star was. But the garden outside was called the garden of fair star as well. We'll talk more about that. So we're here in the great hall and staircase at Elvaston. This at one time of day was the entrance door. You didn't come in the Gothic door. That was built. You used to come in on the east side, and where the steps are, we used to come in there. That was the entrance. So you sort of come in. One of the largest unsupported staircases in England, a hot-tumbled stone. I'm thinking worse, we're going to put it up there in this thing. But the rail, if you notice the handrail, looks a little bit dangerous. It's got some rather big holes in it. Those holes are actually filled with the letter H, the monogram of the Harrington, but they were taken out for some mysterious reason around about the 60s. So what the council has done to make them safe is they've got perspex in there, because we have children in the castle to store the beds and so on. All decorated in a neoclassical style, not an awful lot left in here. There's the paintings on the wall. We've got a photograph upstairs on the landing, and if we go up there now, I'll show you how it used to look. Better view of the stairs here really, nice gallery there, again the edge has been taken out the handrail. You can see an open door there, through the open door you can see some of the problems that we've got at Elvaston. You'll be seeing more of that sort of thing as we move into the servants' quarters. There's what looks like a door on the left-hand side as well. You'll have to take my word for it, that is not a door, not a real door, it's just a feature of the passageway. Just put in there to balance up the symmetry of the gallery itself. Give you some idea of how things used to look. There we have a picture, and you can all see that. And you can see the paintings on the wall. You can see the gallery there, sort of top left. Okay. And there's a huge painting underneath the gallery. We've spotted here of Charles again. Remember Charles and his polo pony? Well, this is Charles again. Charles Augustus, the 8th Earl of Harrington. And you can see him there standing with his big white second whiskers, his big bushy beard. 16 stone he was, very patriarchal figure. And he was known as, his nickname was Old Whiskers. Not to his face, but behind his back. And you can also, perhaps, can you see? Where is it now? Can you see in the corner there, there's a dog. Yeah, just one dog. I think a story about him as well. But firstly, more about Charles. One there, that's it. That's the big one there, yeah. Charles was master of the South Notts hunt until his death in 1917. And he used to hunt the country. Well, he hunted 7 days a week. He hunting. He used to hunt for the corn, hunt for the South Notts, the same back as far as Newark, and nothing was too much trouble. He did die, let's say, in 1917, and he left instructions after his death that his hounds should hunt the first suitable day. And after he died, the houndmaster, Fred, got a few friends together and said, gentlemen, we're going to carry out his lordship's wishes. So they came to Elvaston, got the hounds at the kennels and brought them into the hound enclosure. Now, I don't know whether you know where that is, but if you picture the Harrington tea rooms and the bit outside where you can sit and have a cup of tea, if you stand there and look back towards the arch with the clock on the top, on the left-hand side of the courtyard, there is a semicircular pair of gates, maroon colour they are, anything with maroon, that's the Harrington colour. That's the hound enclosure. Okay? Now you have a look next time if you've not noticed already, that on those gates, those wrought-iron gates, the bars at the bottom are a lot closer together than they are at the top. Keep the dogs in. Okay? So you used to keep the hounds there before the hunt. The friends had the stirrup cups outside, ready to go. Let the hounds go, the hounds shot straight, the avenue there, straight towards Jason, through Golden Gates. The huntsmen followed, they'd lost the dogs, they could hear them barking, they were calling them, but they seemed to have not gone down to the main road, they swung round somewhere, and they've gone round and round, down Church Avenue, towards the churchyard. So they followed them round, and when they got to the churchyard, they could see what had happened. The hounds were there, encircled around Charles's grave. So Fred turned to the rest of the team and said, well, sorry gentlemen, it's like the hunt's over for today. His lordship's brought the hounds. Nice little story. Another little story is that there dog there in the right-hand corner of the picture. Well, after Charles's death, his widow was so distraught that he ordered for that painting to be destroyed, so it no longer exists. The butler was given the job, and he did destroy it, well, sort of. He kept the piece, and he kept that piece there with that dog on in the corner, and it's still in the possession of a local villager now. So that bit still survives. See that rose on the roof there, with the crown? Well, we're going to be above that, looking down there. Right, short space of time. And we've got mirrored shutters there. You can see where the mirrors all that. The idea is to reflect the maximum amount of light into the room. Now, again, we've got nothing left in here, but at one time there was about 5 lacquered Japanese cabinets in here, and the suites, etc., the armchairs, and you can sort of picture his lordship sitting here in the morning with a copy of the Times, his cup of tea, looking down the East Avenue there. And it's a bit easy today, but the trees actually go right down as far as Elvaston, and the hills you can just make out in the background are the Gotham Hills. So quite a view from here, really. Those people that know the area will know also that the Vaughns Road crosses there somewhere, and it's out of view. It's sunken. Okay? And there's a name for that feature, where a drive crosses a view from a stately home like that. And it's called a ha-ha. Right, I've heard of it before. It's called a ha-ha. And what a ha-ha is all about, as I say, the sunken road or path. And the idea is it lets the estate workers, the gardeners, the herdsmen perhaps, move from one side of the estate to the other without being seen from the big house. There's ha-has that Cork springs to mind, that's another one that's on there. A lot of stately homes. Originally that drive was actually gravelled. It's not grassed as you see it today, but we've got a copy of an oil painting there in the bay, bottom of the bay window, John Gardner Wilkinson, about 1861. And he paints it there as a white gravel drive. And that's how it was, and there was sort of an obelisk near the ha-ha. There was the sundial stood on a pedestal. We understand that the recreation for ladies on a Sunday afternoon was often to send for a horse to be brought round, and the groom would bring the horse round. The lady would mount the horse, side saddle of course, and the horse would then be led down one side of the avenue by the groom, around the obelisk at the bottom, and then back up to the side. And that would be Sunday afternoon recreation. If the ladies didn't want to do that, then there was croquet. And the croquet lawn was just to the left of the step there. I mentioned earlier, it's worth mentioning again, that all this east front, as you see now, was added later. Alright, it's not part of the original build, it was added around about 1850. And just to show you that something funny's gone off, or something a little bit weird, if you look at the floor, you can see that the floor level comes along, and then it rises just there in front of the bay window to key in to the new build. It's just slightly different, slightly to the left. Okay? Let's move on. Pop your finger in that hole, it's quite safe, and just pull that door towards you. There you go. And that's the secret door. Just look outside your door, look in there to don't up the stairs, that's all. That's how the servants again will come into the room to service it inside. So it's access to the service staircase. white bed there, and that's the wall it would have stood against. The door shown on the left on the side of that bed there is of course this door. Holbogian's got nothing to do with Harrington. We've got full ensuite facilities, as you can see, with the tin bath and the drip from the ceiling. And actually we've located the leak, and it's now a process of drying out, thank goodness. But that's one of the problems we've got here. Wardrobes, built-in wardrobes, big enough to take the ball gowns of the lady. Fantastic view out of the window of the gardens. And the garden that you're looking at there is not an original garden. That garden was planted in the early 70s by the council. The original garden was the garden of the Fair Star, and called the Mont Plaisir. And together, they were totally unique. So that was the principal centre of the garden. Around that, you've got this star shape with the colours, and the colours were crushed seashells around. But this is the first of the state rooms. This one here was the state bedroom, and had a four-poster bed in there. There's notable people stopped here in the day. As I say, we used to hold international polo matches. Duke of Wellington was here, and the Kaiser was here, and so on. All the decoration you see in here is original. The thistles and the stars around the cornice, all the decoration on the wall. The other feature that was in this room, or just outside, is this conservatory. Right? Both these pictures are the same, just taken at different times. You see this sort of conservatory that's above the front door. That's where we are now, with the door where you came into the Gothic Hall. So what you've got is a glass house out there, so you could open that door and you could step out into this conservatory on a nice day, and you could see the gardens, perhaps sit and do a bit of reading, or ladies do a bit of sewing or something. And you could keep an eye on the Castle Drive, which would be the main entrance to Elvaston, see if you've got any guests arriving. So it'd be a rather nice place to sit. It's all taken down, we're not sure exactly when, but it was there late 1800s. And when it was taken down, these pillars here were reduced in height. Those two blocks were taken out, and that was put on top of that. So when you look out the window now, you can see there's a slant cut into the stone there of the roof. Okay, which is a lot lower, obviously, than what it ought to be. Just to give you some idea of restoration on these places, these three pieces of sandstone, these castellated sandstone parapets out there, were replaced a few years ago, probably about 8 years ago, something like that, I think, 10 years ago, and it cost £21,000. So that's 3 bits of stone for you. There we go. So no wonder it mounts up to millions. Okay, well done. Right, the first thing that springs to mind when you come up these stairs and look at this lot, you think, right, we're all plastic on them. And that's one of the main problems. Quick top of history, Gordon Borough Council, Vaughns Council came together in 1969 to buy Elvaston Castle from a company called Needless Development, who wanted to extract the ground. And they started off by making the castle watertight, work on the roof and so on, getting the working museum going. There was a natural history museum started off in the castle we've spoken about and so on. Everything went along swimmingly until about 1980 when they discovered dry rot. And the dry rot was in the laths that hold the plaster on the wall in here. So that's where it's all gone. It had to be stripped off and the laths burnt, of course. So at that time, Derby Borough Council had dropped out of the deal through local government arrangements. So the Derbyshire County Council had got the whole lot. And they said, whoa, just a minute, how much is all this going to cost on top of the rest of the budget? And they just haven't got the budget for it. So the job stopped. And that's really where we are. Still waiting for the plasters to come back. From 1980. But we've got features up here that are well worth a mention. We've got just a set of boards here now, but there used to be a lift shaft here. There was a water-powered lift that took you from the ground floor up here. Servants used to use it for bringing hot water to the rooms. There's various rooms up here. The governess's room was up here. Lord Petersham's room was here. The school room was here, and so on. Also, up there used to come the Earl, because that was access to his orchid room, where we're off to in a moment or two. Okay? So it's quite a handy little idea, this was. And they used to get the water to power the lift from the lake. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but there's a pump house down by the lake. Yeah, good show. Next to the boathouse. And inside that pump house is a 4-cylinder Harrison pump. And it worked off the water wheel outside. Pumped the water through 2 5-inch mains. One main came up here to the castle. And if I can just find in the photograph, it went into the courtyard. And we'll just sort of show it round. Can you see that water tower there, that tall tower in the courtyard? It's gone now, unfortunately, but it was in the corner of the courtyard. And in that top of that tower there was a water tank. And that was the reservoir then, the head of water for this lift, and also the fountains in the garden. There was another main that was from the pump house, and that goes across to the Old English garden. And if you've never noticed, next time when you go in the Old English garden, just stay at the little gate, little wrought-iron gate, just stay there for a moment and just look up, and on the end of the gardener's bottom there's a triangular roof, and in there is the tank. And that used to be the head of water for an irrigation system in the gardens. So, great inventors with the style. Clever stuff. Let's go to the orchid room then. Now there's 4 steps there you can... First of all, called stag poop here. That Wildenstone may have been grown here. One thing to point out: the teachers were here during the Second World War from the trainee lady teachers from Derby Diocesan Teacher Training College in New Toshita Road. They were evacuated out here, and 147 teachers and staff descended on the place. And had a whale of a time, I understand. All the rooms were pressed into service for one reason or another, and this room was no exception. This used to be the art studio for obvious reasons. And we still have a little bit of their artwork in the place, and it's on the back of that door there. And they actually painted portraits of each other. And that door would have actually been over the top of the stairs where we've just come up. Okay? at one time of day, so it would have been quite a sight. Okay, we've got some guest bedrooms here. If you want to just take a quick look at those, please don't go down the stairs, either end of the corridor, they are unsafe. Okay? And then off down the hall. When you think about the house full of guests for one function or another. Quick tour around the kitchen. We've got a solid fuel range here in front of us with two ovens on the side. Moving around to the right, we've got a large red oven. Again, we've got the range, but this time it's gas. And they used to make their own gas on the estate. The gas plant near the working museum. And the gas was used obviously for cooking, for gas lighting, and also there were several gas engines. There's a big one in the workshop that drives an overhead shaft that goes all the way through the workshop, and you can take your lathes and cooking machines and one thing and another else out. We've got a rack up there, a wooden rack for hanging meat on. And that could be raised or lowered on pulleys, which they went across to the top corner there and down to that ratchet arrangement by the wall there. Looking right around there, we've got a motto, which is in old French, loosely translated, says, "A cook is a divine mortal." A cook is a divine mortal. Agree with that one. Harrington crest, of course. And the piece of furniture. I did tell you that in the Gothic Hall when we started that there was one piece of furniture in the entire house that belonged to the Harringtons. And that's it. Go back a little bit. Brilliant. That's it. So there you have it. Solid oak with rectory table, circa around about 1600. And it's been at Elvaston most of its life. It can be pictured on the photograph here, it can be seen against the back wall. Yeah? See there? Now this is a picture of the dining room. And if you think, oh, we haven't been in the dining room, we've not mentioned the dining room. Well, the dining room is the Harrington tea room there. Alright? So we're against the back wall of the Harrington tea room. And just to get your bearings there, if you go to the tea room today, you actually walk into the room itself through a hole that's been knocked in this wall here, okay? So the table there would have been down your left as you go in. And one other interesting feature on here is a serving hatch. And what they used to do, because the kitchens were here and the dining room was on the other side of the castle, they used to take the food out of here, through the door, turn right, up to a room there with a gas oven in it. And what they would do is to slide the door back on the gas oven, put the food in, close the doors. Now that oven has got another side to it. Right? And if you may have seen it already. If you're going down the passageway to the Harrington tea rooms, don't turn right into the tea room, but go through the next set of doors, as if you're going to leave toilets. And just behind the door, your left-hand side, is the other side of those ovens. And what they would do when the family was ready, they would slide the oven back, the door back, take the food out, pass it straight across the corridor, through the serving hatch, until it's served at table. That serving hatch is gone now, but you can just see on the plasterwork where it's all been sort of picked up and that. Well, that takes you to the end of the tour of the house. Okay, you've enjoyed that. You've got a lot to see yet. We've got the cellars. I think Andrew's about ready to take us down the cellars. So I'll take you all around there at the moment. If you want to see them now, you don't have to see them now. If you want to retain your ticket, you go for a cup of tea or something and come back a little bit later, that's fine. If you want to see them now, I can take the party in a minute. There's pamphlets and booklets and pamphlets on the table there. There's a questionnaire if you want to take a copy. One per couple, one per family would be superb if you could fill it in. You can hand it in the Gothic hall if you want to. What else have we got? Church. The church should be open. Well worth a visit. Till about 3-ish, half 3, perhaps, something like that. So all in all, of course, all the photographs and the PowerPoint presentations. So plenty to see yet. Okay?
What's that on there?
I put on the top. Yeah, look, two of those.